So this is really cool for me to stand in the back of the room and see this room almost full. You know, it was not too long ago, probably 4, 5, 6 months ago, that we were struggling to get a room of about 70 people. So now, as we look around and see close to 200 people in this room, it's pretty impressive to see what's been going on with this foundation and who we've been able to reach out and help. And this is just the beginning. We're fairly new. We've only been doing this for a little over a year, and we look to impact millions of lives through the best program as one of our missions for sure. For those of you who are here for the first time, will you please raise your hand? Awesome. Okay, keep your hand up if someone invited you. Okay. Now, if you're the person who invited that person, raise your hand. Okay, awesome. So you see how the word of mouth works? It's pretty awesome, right? Now, I'm just curious, who invited someone but that person could not come tonight? Awesome. Okay, so we're getting the word out. We're spreading the good news. And as you guys are seeing some things going on our website, we're trying to make it better and better every day so that we can make this a remote opportunity for those people who are not here in Arizona, and more specifically here in Mesa. And this room, as you can see, only holds 200 people. So once we have 200 people, that's it in this room. We might have to expand to a bigger location or just have more classes. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Richard Morris. I'm a nutritionist and a personal trainer, and I'm here to help you guys with your bodies tonight, the physical body. So you guys ready to do this? Okay, so what is involved in the B class? When we say physical body, what parts? What components are we talking about? Okay, your muscles, and then what else? Well, okay, what else? Okay, so cardiovascular system, what else? Nutrition. Cool. What was that one? Mental, that's next week, or in 2 weeks from now. You just wait, that one's going to be awesome. Okay, so tonight is that, muscle, cardiovascular, nutrition. We're talking specifically about the body tonight. So let's not waste any more time sitting here. Let's all stand up. We're going to go outside. There's a big patch of grass. Our exercise scientist, Josh Burton, who's going into medical school in 2 weeks or something, he is out there waiting for you guys with a megaphone. And we're going to do some working out. We're going to move these bodies of ours.
Yeah, let's go 80%. Look at that. Here we
Raise your hand if that was your first workout today. Big and high. Just look around. Look around. Okay. Keep your hands up. Keep them up. Keep them up. Keep your hand up. And I don't want to get too cheesy here with you guys, but keep your hand up if you feel better about yourself right now. Okay, look at that. So what was different about this exercise class today compared to exercise classes we've done in the past, or maybe other exercise classes you've been to learn about physiology and exercise? What was the difference today? It was softer, the exercise part of it. What else? There's more people? Had more encouragement? The energy was better? It was broken down in little bits. Who knows here how long we just exercised? 10 on the dot. From the time we started moving to the time we stopped moving. That was just 10 minutes. For me, the big thing that was different in that exercise class was we weren't sitting in here when we were learning, were we? What were we doing? We were moving. And that's how you learn, right? Imagine if Josh stood up here, and he has done this in the past, so I'm calling him out and us for kind of encouraging this. Okay, guys, when you do a squat, what you want to do is you want to go down, and he'll show a picture up on the screen, and you want to have your feet parallel, and you should be feeling this in the glutes. Sound good? Cool. Okay, now when you do arm circles, like what does that do? It's great information, but we're all just sitting here, and our bodies are going chugga, 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 right? We wanted to move, and this is now to be expected in all of our B classes. So come ready. Bring your water bottle out there next time and get ready to move. And hopefully this inspired you that this is all you need to promise yourself Even less than what we just did out there. Half of what we did out there every day can be a simple commitment. And if you go beyond that, great, you win. You complete, or you fulfill your integrity and you save your dignity every time you do it, just like Chris and Heidi talked about 2 weeks ago. So who here, raise your hand high, because you're making a commitment, who here is committed to exercising 5 minutes or more every single day? Every day. Deliberate movement. Awesome. So do you guys know how much energy this is going to create in this group and then also elsewhere? And it will inspire others to do the same.
2 extra workbooks. Who doesn't have one?
Okay, perfect. Everybody has a workbook? All right, so now the time has come to crack these books open. But hold on. Derek, do you have a drum roll music? I'm just kidding. Okay. Stop. That was awesome. Okay, now on the inside, we're going to open this book up. Okay, when it's open, you're not going to talk. You're not going to look at your neighbor and talk to him about what's on the inside. You're going to go to work. There's questions right there on the inside. They're going to ask you some personal things about yourself. And you're just going to go to work. Don't talk. I don't want to hear one person say anything right now for the next 5 minutes. You're just going to open it up and go to work. I don't care who you are. I don't care how beautiful or fit you are. That's hard to do. Because that's looking into a deep place that sometimes we haven't connected with for a long time or maybe ever for some of us. So I wanted to do that. I know it seems like it's not a body task. We're not talking about exercise or nutrition when we do that. But we have to make a connection. We have to. If we're going to talk about changing this blanket of energy that we all have, right? We're just skin, bones, and a blanket of energy. That's it. So when we look into those eyes, and we're talking about, I'm going to get fit this week. I'm starting Monday, or I'm starting Tuesday night at the best class. That was my night that I start, and now I'm kicking it off, and I'm good. If we don't have an emotional connection with ourselves, good luck. And I know it's hard to understand that for some of us. Some of you may totally grasp it. I get it. That makes total sense. That's awesome, Rich. Let's move on. Some of you are like, all right, this kooky dude has totally turned me off. I ain't coming to next class. If this is how it is in the body class, what is it going to be like in the emotional class in 2 weeks? So with all of that just going down, and we're a little bit deeper, we're maybe a little more connected with ourselves than we were after we felt our bodies tonight by moving around outside. We felt our hearts pumping. We felt our muscles moving, right? We all felt that. We felt our lungs expanding and gasping for more oxygen. And we connected with ourselves on a different level. We are more prepared now to move forward. If we just dove right in today, like every other nutrition and exercise class or thing you've read on Google, without making the connection we've made for the first half of this class, there's a pretty good chance that over time it might trickle off. Nod your head if that makes sense. Okay, just want to see some heads nodding. Hopefully it does. If it doesn't, that's okay. It will hopefully make sense as we move on. So with that being said, we are going to, for the next about 15 minutes, delve into some information. Okay, but while I'm getting into this, don't get so caught up in this information that you lose sight and forget about you. Sometimes it's easy to get going with this information and become disconnected because our left brain wants to take over and it wants us to gather information. We know the more information that we write, the better results we're going to see. And this is the missing link tonight. If I get this information, I'm good to go because I had no idea what to do before. But everybody here knows, for the most part, what to do. How many of you guys know how to exercise? For the most part. How many of you know to eat 5 small portion meals and snacks a day? Most. Okay. I'm not giving you too much more information than that tonight. We'll give you some little things. But remember that connection that was just made. And don't let yourself leave yourself tonight, if that makes sense. Stay connected with your body and who you are. And pay close attention. And don't worry about writing everything down. All this stuff I'm going to give you, you can print it off later. Okay? If you want to make a couple notes to hit home for you, great. Don't obsess over taking note after note. Raise your hand if you agree with that. If you're going to do that. If you're just going to focus and not obsess about taking notes. Okay, cool. All right, here we go. Body presentation. I got a clicker. Let's rock and roll. Okay. Raise your hand if you've already heard the 3 rules of thumb. Put it up high so I know. That's it? Like 3 people, 4 people? Okay, please raise your hand. I'm just curious. Okay, raise your hand if you've not heard this information. The bot.
That's a better question.
Okay, there we go. Okay, there are 3 rules of thumb that no matter what diet you're on, and we're not promoting a diet in here, but no matter what you're following, these 3 rules of thumb need to be followed on a daily basis, every single day. So it doesn't matter if you're carb cycling, if you're going low carb, high carb, if you're cleansing, it doesn't matter. These 3 general rules are crucial to follow. So I'm giving this to you now as my gift. Accept it. Rule number 1. What is it for those of you who know? Water. I've spent so much time talking about water, it makes me thirsty. So our body, and it's even more than that in some people, 60, 70, sometimes 80% of our body is made of water, depending on if we're male or female, how much fat we might have on our bodies. So the body is primarily water. Every single organ in the system has fluid running through it, so we need water. It's crucial. You guys know the weight loss show, Extreme Weight Loss, that Chris and Heidi do. So we'll have people on the show, because they have massive amounts of weight to lose, and the more tissue you have on your body, the more water your body requires. If you're not getting enough water, what will your body naturally do? Hold on to it, right? It has to. Why? Yeah. Yeah, and it almost has to be like a camel. It doesn't know when it's going to get its next dose of water. It just holds on to it. And we've had people lose, if someone's off water for a few days, and then they start flushing, or they start drinking the right amount of water, we'll call it, they can lose 20 pounds overnight sometimes. The body will literally retain 20, sometimes more, in just water. Isn't that crazy? And it's so unnecessary. It's not healthy to have that much stored water in our body. It's just there because it thinks it needs to protect us, because it doesn't know if we're going to be consistent day after day after day with the proper amount of fluid. All right. So who's committed to drinking more water? Let's do this. Awesome. Commitment done. So you're going to drink, ideally, half your body weight in ounces of water a day. So if I weigh 200 pounds, I'll drink 100 ounces of water a day. That's my goal. Now let's just say that you're not used to drinking water. Let's say that maybe you drink 16 ounces a day. Or the lady I talked to today, we had a little consultation. She drinks 0 ounces of water a day, literally 0. Don't be hurt if you're one of them, okay? 0. Diet Coke is all she drinks. Okay, so I said, okay, let's not go for the half gallon, or half an ounce of water per pound of body weight. Let's go for 32 ounces. And you know what she did? She freaked out. She's like, no way I can't do 32 ounces. Okay, I'm sorry. How about 16 ounces? You can do one of those bottles a day. And I asked her if she was sure, if she could do it, and guess what she said? I can't. So what do we do? 8 ounces of water a day, an 8-ounce glass of water a day. That's nothing, it seems like, to some of us, but to her, that's 8 ounces more than she is drinking right now. So that's a big deal for her. Now, whatever it is for you, let it be that. It doesn't have to be a half an ounce. If you're starting off, remember we talked about promises, and for those of you who weren't here last week, the way to get to transformation, true transformation, is to what? Keep our promises. And that'll build our dignity and our integrity. And we'll eventually achieve transformation. It's not about calories in versus calories out. Yeah, that's important. But it's about making a promise that we can keep. So right now on your paper, I want you to write a promise down. Now, I'm going to repeat Chris from last week. It almost has to be so simple it's stupid. That's just his words. So write down your promise of the amount of ounces of water you're going to drink every single day between now and the next best class, which is in 2 weeks from today. My trusty brother gave me an idea. Okay, so we have it down, right? Raise your hand if you have your commitment down. Even if you already were committed to a certain amount of ounces, let's commit again. So the next thing you're going to do, and this is his idea, the guy who hides behind the computer, my brother, my little big brother, how many or what do you have to do to make sure that you're going to get that amount of ounces of water in your body every single day? Commitment pattern. Try harder. Okay, write it down. What else? Throw them out there. Some people may need ideas. Yes? Ah, love it. Okay, what else? Set a timer. What? Alarm? Okay. Okay, make commitments with yourself. Like, I can't have iced tea till I finish my water for the day, right? That's good. What was the one you said? Or someone said something right now? Reminder on your phone, sticky. Okay, are you getting some good ideas? And these simple ideas can be applied with other things that have to do with nutrition and exercise as well. Okay, commit. Is a promise there, you guys? You ready? All right. Okay, real quick to finish up the whole water topic. There's 4 ations of water. These are the 4 benefits, because sometimes we only think of water as hydration, right? It hydrates the body. But our fat is primarily made up of what? Water. So could we have fatty water in our bodies? We could, a little excess. So when we flush our systems and we consistently get the proper amount of water every day, we will inevitably flush fat out of the body. Unnecessary fat that's there just to protect. So here we go, the 4 ations of water, along with hydration, which you see on the far right there. There is also oxygenation. So how many of you have been up at like high altitude skiing? What do you get like almost instantly when you're up at a high altitude? A headache, right? Why? Yeah, the airsten, right? Lack of oxygen. So we're told to drink what? Water. And so it gets rid of our headaches, so we get oxygen. So oxygenation is one. Lubrication. So lubricates the joints. It's amazing how much better you'll feel when you start drinking more water. The joints get lubricated. So some of those aches and pains will go away. And then the last one, detoxification. So have you guys all heard that water helps to detox the system? Right? We take in toxins on a daily basis, environmental toxins and also toxins through our foods that we consume. So it helps to detox all that out. And then there's all these other benefits of balancing blood sugar, mental clarity, increased metabolism, and energy. Moving on. Okay. You guys you get the water thing, right? Okay. I don't want to badger that anymore. I just want to make a point like I always do. I get a little obsessed about the water thing because I've had people eat perfectly, literally perfectly, and not drink enough water, and guess what happens? They gain weight or they just stay where they're at. So drink your water. Ultimately, you're going to build up to 1/2 ounce of water per pound of body weight and be consistent with that. And if the scale fluctuates, you guys aren't gaining, like over the course from like day 1 to day 2 or 3, you think you really put on 3 pounds of fat magically over 2 days? No, it's just water. Drink more water. Have a little less sodium in your diet, and that'll flush out. Okay, rule number 2. Who has not heard, and it's okay, raise your hand, I'm just curious, who has not heard that we should eat every 3 hours? Okay, one person. So most of us have heard, thank you, by the way, for raising your hand. And you'll get your book later. Thanks for the check, by the way. So we have 3 hours that goes by. Our body has a thermic effect. It's a metabolism, right? I always use the analogy of a fire burning in the gut as like our thermostat or our metabolism. And when we consume a big meal, let's imagine we're putting a big log on a fire, what happens to that fire? Does it light up in flames? What happens to it? It smolders it, right? It just kind of simmers down and smokes out. And it kills the fire if the log's too big. And that same thing happens with nutrition, with our diets. So we want to consume, I'm going to come over to this side of the room. Is this cool, you guys? Want me to come over here? How does this feel? Sorry, guys. Come over here and lean up against this podium. So if 3 hours goes by and we do not eat something, our metabolism will naturally start to decelerate. Just natural. And then what else starts to happen when our metabolism starts to drop if 3 hours has gone by? Energy drops. But how many of you 3 hours goes by and you're just not hungry? You're not hungry, right? Raise your hand if you're just not hungry after 3 hours. So why would we eat? I'm not hungry. If I eat more, I'm going to gain, right? We got some smarty pants in here. Keep the furnace burning. It's like putting twigs on a fire. We have to constantly put them on there. So those are like our snacks. So 3 hours goes by. We have breakfast, let's say. We always should be eating within 30 minutes of waking up. 3 hours goes by, energy drops. That's also known as a blood sugar drop. Okay, you guys ever get a little shaky when it's been like 3 hours? Notice that? Okay, and then also cortisol secretes from the adrenal glands. And is cortisol a good thing to have an abundance of in the body? No, it's not, right? It's called the fat hormone, and we're going to be storing excess body fat if there's cortisol. And the reason why cortisol secretes in this situation is because our body's under stress. So it has to secrete. And then what happens is, do we have like a very well-balanced meal with maybe like, I don't know, a little bit of brown rice, some chicken, and some broccoli right here? Is that what we eat when our blood sugar drops? What do we want at this point? Let's say it's been like 6 hours. Carbs, of course. And we have carbs, and what happens? Blood sugar spikes. Okay, that's great. The blood sugar spikes. We feel good actually for a little bit, right? We actually feel awesome for sometimes 30, 40 minutes. But then what takes over right here? Huh? Yell them out. Insulin. Okay, insulin controls our blood sugar. It's there to protect us, so it releases from the pancreas, and it drops our blood sugar back down. But if our blood sugar has an aggressive spike like we see here, do you think just a little bit of insulin is going to release to control it and kind of bring it back down and manage it? No, it's like in survival mode, so it has to almost super soak insulin out of the pancreas to grab as much of the sugar it can and pull it down as aggressively as it can as a protective mechanism. And so here we find ourselves where? Back to where we started. We find ourselves crashed out. Chronic fatigue. I have chronic fatigue. No, you don't. You just need to eat every 3 hours and consume enough water. I'm sorry if you have a legitimate chronic fatigue, but I hear it all the time. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. That was bad. You slapped my wrist. I can't do it myself. Harder than that. Thank you. Okay. I'm getting ready for someone to walk out. Okay, but I know there's some legitimate chronic fatigue concerns, okay? But when we look at this, this is kind of like what chronic fatigue feels like, right? Where it feels like I can't even move my feet. I'm so tired. I can't even stay awake at my desk. So this can all be prevented by simply eating every 3 hours and consuming the right amount of water. Do you guys believe that? Do you really, really believe that? Okay, let's do this commitment again, okay? Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys, we're not judging here, we're all on the same boat, how many of you are eating 1 time or less a day? Okay, 0 to 1 times a day. Okay, so there's like 5 hands that went up. How many of you have ever been in that situation where you're eating 0 to 1 times a day? Okay, so you know what it's like then. Okay, how many of you are eating 2 or less? Okay, 3 or less? Okay, so what we'll do is if you're eating 1 time, what's your promise to yourself? Is it to jump on the wagon and do 5 right now? We can promise to do 2, but if we do it every 3 hours, great, but that's not the promise we made to ourselves. Because remember what's on the line, our integrity, right? Our dignity is hanging on the line by a thread. So we can't overpromise right now. If you do every 3 hours and you do the 5 times a day, great. But just add 1 to whatever you're doing. If you're doing 5, keep doing it. Rock on. We'll make a more serious promise tonight. All right. Are there any questions about this whole cycle? This is a vicious roller coaster. It's hard to get off of. Okay, you guys. With that being said, we're going to let everybody get up and move and take a little break. Okay. What are the first 2 rules of thumb? Okay, cool. I made a dent. Here we go. Next and final rule. This is one that it's not as common knowledge as maybe drinking water or eating every 3 hours. And this is to eat a protein every time you eat. Okay, why can't we just have a bowl of delicious, healthy oatmeal by itself? What's that? Okay. Yes, oatmeal is all carbohydrates. And not that carbohydrates are bad. We're not going to promote an all-protein diet like Atkins or some of the other aggressive ones out there. But a carb, whether it's a good carb or a bad carb, will spike the blood sugar. Now, of course, if it's a bad carb like a cookie, is the blood sugar going to go up faster, more aggressively than a bowl of oatmeal, let's say? Yes, of course it will. And so that's a good awareness to have. But either way, obviously we want to have the good types of carbohydrates, which we'll talk more about. And a lot of us already know some of the good carbs. When we have a protein with it, it acts as a ceiling. Now, it doesn't have to be a hunk of meat, FYI. Okay? Some people get obsessed with meat. And it's not about that. Okay? Our colons sometimes need a break from that stuff. So this is about a protein. What are some things besides meat that have protein in them? Nuts, Greek yogurt, beans. What's that? Egg whites, okay. Cottage cheese. Quinoa, thank you. Totally vegan style, right? Spelt. Lentils. Yes, spinach. Do you guys know that veggies have protein in it? It's crazy, right? You have to have a lot of it. There are veggie protein shakes that you could have a scoop of real quick alongside of your carb maybe if you don't have a readily available protein, because a lot of proteins are perishable, right? So it's not always the easiest thing to have, like a carbohydrate. But nuts, okay? Now, question, is a fruit a carbohydrate? It is. So can you have an apple by itself? Yeah, don't do that. Just have maybe 8 nuts. I always say 8 is great. Always have 8. By the way, the portion for the fat, because nuts are a fat, along with the protein, is the size of your thumb. So that's about how much fat we should have, because fat is so dense with calories. Not saying we should avoid fat. We should have fat every day, but good healthy fats, of course, and good portions of fat. So just look at your thumb and ask, okay, I can probably jam about 8 almonds in this thumb right here. All right, so 8 is great. Always have 8. Okay, so 3 hours goes by. We have a carb with a protein. And then we get buff like Popeye. I forgot about that graphic, Derek. That's good. So what's cool is when we have the protein, it's just like a little umph. Okay? Angry Birds. And then we move along here. We have our water. And we're having a rockin' day. So we have some great rules now. We're going to review them real quick. I do want to answer some questions about these 3 rules of thumb. And then I want to get in some more details, because for some of you, you're like, yeah, I know all this. Give me something more. I want to challenge myself a little more. So we're going to get into that here, but I wanted to make sure we reviewed all this. So 3 rules of thumb. Number 1, half your body weight in ounces. Are you all going to start drinking half your body weight in ounces tomorrow? Oh, trick question. Some of you may, okay, but it depends on what your promise is. This is between you and you. Between you and your integrity. Okay, 2, eat every 3 hours. Is everybody in here starting tomorrow going to eat every 3 hours? Yes. Oh, I got you again. Okay, yeah, it's between you and your integrity, right? That promise, if you're eating 1 time a day, you're going to eat twice. And then we will build it up from there. Okay, no jumping in the water without some flippers on. You might need some floaties to start. All right. Trying to use my analogies, and I'm just burning out here. Okay, and eat a protein every time you eat. All right, any questions about this, you guys? Does anybody want to know, okay, what are the carbs? Show me what carbs to eat. Put them on my plate. Put them right here. How about the proteins? Like, I need to know exactly what protein I have to eat and what fats I'm supposed to eat. Okay, guess what? We're not going to go over all that tonight, because all of that is on this PDF on our website that you can just click and see every single approved protein that we like. Isn't that going to be kind of boring for some of us to go over protein after protein after protein tonight? I'm going to answer the question. Some of you are like, no, I really need it. But I'm saying, no, just go print it off. All of our approved proteins, Chris Powell approved, are on our site along with all the approved carbs, all the approved fats. Cool, you guys? Okay. Intro to carb cycling. You guys ready for this? How many of you in here are currently carb cycling? Good question. So if you don't know what it means, that means you're not carb cycling. Or you may be and not even know it. Okay, raise your hands again if you're currently carb cycling or if you have carb cycled. Okay, awesome. How many of you guys are following Chris's book? So do that. Okay, cool. So we got about 10 people in here who are carb cycling. So this will be pretty new information for some of you. Now, remember that some of this stuff that I'm going to go over with you is a little advanced. Okay? And it may seem enticing for you to jump on right now and get going with it. But we have to remember this whole promise thing. This is information for the body class. And if you feel like, I can really do that, I really feel like this is a good next step for me, then great. Some of you are advanced and you're already eating 5 times a day and you're just looking for something just a little bit more to push you over, help you to get a little bit leaner, lose a little bit more. And these are some solutions. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them because they're pretty darn simple to understand. Because I do want to get into some things on portion control before our time runs out. So, intro to carb cycling. Here's how it goes. We carb cycle. Have you guys ever heard of like ketosis? Does anybody know what that means? Huh? Okay, the body burns fat. Yeah. Okay, kind of. What part of the body goes into starvation mode? What part of the body stores glycogen? You guys know what glycogen is? Okay, your muscles and what else? Yeah, your liver and your muscles. So what we do when we go into like a ketosis or we go off carbs for a little bit is we drain some of that glycogen, or what is glycogen also known as? Yeah, it's like some sugar, right? And sugar can convert into fat if there's too much of it. So if we have too much glycogen, sometimes that can spill over into our fat storages. So we might need to control that a little bit by going into like a mild ketosis. You guys heard of the Atkins diet? Okay, was that mild? No, it's like just straight up no carbs, period, don't need them. Yeah, the body went into ketosis and it maybe felt okay for a couple days or maybe even a couple weeks, and we lost like 50 pounds in 2 weeks. Seriously, some people lost massive amounts of weight really fast. But what eventually happened? Gained it all back, because if we don't have glycogen in the muscle, what eventually happens to the muscle? It goes bye-bye, right? And if we don't have muscle, what do we not now have? A fat burner, metabolism, right? So that stinks, right? We don't want to do that. So we need that. So if we will take maybe a day every now and again and go off the carbs to kind of drain the glycogen to go into like a light ketosis, then what can happen? The next day we can go back onto carbs, and this actually helps to reset the metabolism, because I'd almost be positive that we all have a little too much glycogen in the body right now. So we're just going to do like a day of just kind of depleting that and bringing it back up. Now there's some in here who don't need to do this. Maybe you're doing it too aggressively. So be careful. I'm just giving you some ideas here if you're ready for kind of that next step. So we talk about carbs. I can keep your metabolism as high as possible. And on your low carb days, you may drop energy a little bit, right? We experienced this before? Okay, but the next day you're going right back on carbs and we're good. And maybe the next day we'll go off of them. But we're not staying off of them for more than maybe a day or two at a time, okay? And then it will help break off plateaus and provides flexible meal options. So the thing is, you guys, if you're on a plateau and you notice benefits from carb cycling, I promise you, if you become obsessed with it and you're doing too few, yeah, you'll keep losing, but eventually you'll plateau off and you'll start to regain. So we got to be really careful. You know the tortoise and the hare analogy. All right, so on a high carb day, alternate high carb and low carb days. Protein and carb with 5 meals in the day. Now, on a high carb day, and we can also call this a regular carb day. This is a day where we just eat regular carbohydrates throughout the day. We have them for breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, and dinner. So every meal pretty much has a carb. Most of us are already doing this when we eat. We already have carbs. They're really not hard to get in the diet. They're really easy, actually, to put in the diet. So we can talk more about this. So we have those with all 5 meals. Now notice there's not one nutrient on there. We have 2 macronutrients with proteins and carbs. What's missing? Fats. On high carb days, we won't have fat throughout the day. You will have it with breakfast, but that's it, okay? Just on the days, or on the meals other than breakfast. So for breakfast, you'll have your protein, your carb, and your fat. So like, what's a great breakfast option real quick? Okay. Potatoes. You'll see our good carb list here in just a little bit. Okay, but eggs and oatmeal, it's more complex. Now, if it's a yam or a sweet potato, then we're more along the lines of like a good carb. So we're on that line, right? So we might have like some eggs and some oatmeal or some sweet potatoes. Who said that, by the way? I don't want to look at the wrong person. Okay. You're like, why are you looking at me? I didn't say it. Okay, and then we might have a fat, which is then our egg, right? So we don't need to add extra fat to that meal. That's perfect. Or we might have a little bit of fruit in our oatmeal or something like that. Cool, you guys? And then we'll have our 5 meals. And we'll talk about what these meals can be a little bit later. Okay. And then the low-carb day. This is the trickier one, but I think you guys are all sharp enough to grasp it if I go over this quickly. So this is where we have a protein and a carbohydrate for breakfast. So you'll still have carbs on your low-carb day. Isn't that crazy? But guess what? Only for breakfast. That's it. So we'll get our carbs in, so we're not going to go crazy drops in blood sugar throughout the day. And by the way, it's always a good idea to have your low-carb days on your not-so-intense workout days. If you're planning on going to the gym and hitting a good workout or going to boot camp or working out with us at the metabolic program, that's probably not the best idea to have your low-carb day on that day. Okay? And we can talk more about this as well. And then we talked about how on this day it will help to deplete some glycogen from the liver and muscles and causes the body to store or burn stored body fat at a faster rate. And that glycogen comes from our good carbs. And then the next day we're going to get it back in, right? So our energy levels will go back up. So we're tricking the system, right? Is this making sense to everybody? Okay. So this is, again, just an option. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because we can all grab Chris's book and read, and this will also be available for you to put into your body portion of your binder. So I'm going to walk you through a few different carb cycling solutions. If you have not tried carb cycling before and you're interested in trying it, this is the one that I recommend starting off on, is the easy carb cycling. Okay, so low carb day, and so you guys see the symbols up at the top here. Those are just, this is like the key at the top. So day 1, we'll have a low carb day. So let's say tomorrow is day 1 for you. That'll be a day we'll have our protein and our carbohydrate for breakfast, and then we'll go to having our regular carb day. Now, what's cool about this regular carb day during the week? What do you get every day or 4 days a week? A reward meal. Okay. Now, we got to be careful here, right? Because I can't tell you how many times people, it's all I say is reward meal, and it's just like, boom, done. He said reward meal. Okay, now there's a couple rules with a reward meal. You guys ready to hear them? All right. So rule number 1 is, if you have a reward meal, you have to have a protein with it, right? And know that cheese on your pizza does not count as protein. That is pure fat. There might be a couple grams in there. Okay, so don't kid yourself. Okay, you need to have a protein with it. You still need to drink your water this day, and even more in abundance on this day, because what is also typically a little bit higher in reward meals? Sodium. Sodium, sodium, sodium. And the more sodium we have, the more water we need to have to flush that sodium out. Sodium's like a bunch of little sponges that holds on to water in the body. Okay? And the other thing is you have to be hungry 3 hours later. If you're not, that reward meal was too what? Too big. So we're going to follow portion control guidelines. This is just to help us have what? Consistency, sanity, right? A little something. That way, if you're low carb and you're like, okay, it's all good tomorrow, I'm going to have my regular carb day and I'll have a little reset. I know a couple people, even on the weight loss show, they'll have a Snickers bar every other day for like their reset day. Or not their reset day, but like their reward meal on that day. It doesn't have to be massive, you guys, okay? Just giving you some heads up. I'm seeing like people eyeing each other right here, big time between Jill and April. So I'm guessing this has been a topic of conversation amongst you ladies. Okay, so this is the easy carb cycling. And on the next 2 pages, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them. And by the way, you guys, if you're going to weigh, you guys weigh yourself regularly? Okay, how often should you weigh? Once a week. Okay, and please, 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 please don't weigh yourself after 2 high carb days with reward meals. What would be a good day to weigh yourself? The morning right after a low carb day before you eat. That'll be like your true weight, right? It's a good weight. All right, and stay consistent with it, because if not, it will just change from one week to the next, and it can be this big psychological game, which we'll talk about more with Jen in 2 weeks. All right, classic carb cycling. This is where you're going to do low, high, and on the last day of the week, you just save it, and that whole day you can just kind of eat whatever you want. But you're still eating every 3 hours, you're having a protein every time you eat, and you're drinking your water. Cool? Okay, so whatever fits your lifestyle best. That works better for me, by the way. I like that style for myself. So food preparation is a pretty big deal. Okay, how many times a week should we prepare our meals in bulk? Twice. Okay. I would suggest twice. I'll do mine on Sunday, or should I say my wife will do mine on Sunday, and then on a Wednesday. And sometimes it varies week to week, and sometimes I'll need to throw 3 days in there, but that's typically how it goes. So the question is, cooking numerous meals for 1 week in bulk, or as you go throughout the day? Okay, and this is the bottom line, you guys. And if someone says, okay, how do I lose weight? And we're talking specifically about weight loss. I will just say it's all about meal preparation. If you cook in bulk and your meals are there, are you going to fail or mess up? You won't. Unless you're blatantly just, I'm done with this. But if all 5 of your meals and snacks are there throughout the day, are you going to go through the drive-thru? No. Maybe, but probably not. Okay, probably not. There's a very good chance you're not going to because you're prepared and it's there. And you're being fulfilled and your blood sugar is being stabilized every 3 hours. You're feeling good. So that is the key right there. So if meal prep and cooking in bulk is the key, what do we have to do to get to that point? We have to shop. We have to, right? So if we're going to shop, what do we have to do to get to that point? We have to make a shopping list. And if we make a shopping list to go shopping with, what do we have to do before we even make the shopping list or before we go shopping? Plan when we're going to go, right? And where we're going to go. If there's ever an unknown, just consider it a potential failure. We have to plan this out. If you don't plan it out, you're kidding yourself. And you're just preparing for failure, literally. It's like walking into a black hole. And I hate to get so aggressive with you guys, but I'm so passionate about this because this is the key to weight loss success. This is it. It's not about carb cycling. It's about preparing your meals in bulk and preparing when and where you're going to go shopping and having your list ready when you go. And you're on a mission, right? You're not distracted by this and that. You're on a mission. You know exactly what Chris Powell and Chris Doxey and Patrick and Richard told you to get. It's on your list. You know what you're doing. Cool, right? And you're going to go home and prepare it. And that has to be planned out. Raise your hand if you have a planner or a day planner or whatever, something to track your day. Okay. Raise your hand if you don't have one. Okay. You have to have one. Something on your phone or something to keep you accountable. These are appointments you're making with yourself. Cool? All right, guys, I'm not letting you off the hook with this. This is it. If you don't have a day planner, you're going to Walmart tonight to buy one. Seriously, Walmart's open 24 hours a day and they have fine day planners there. Raise your hand if you don't have one and you're committed to going tonight to get one. Please raise your hand. One person. Awesome. Vicky, 2. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. I'm fired up right now. All right, guys. So get one, a day planner. Or put it on your hand to get one tomorrow. We have week 1 through 6 weeks of shopping lists. We have a bunch of ideas for you. Of course, you can't read that. I just want to prove to you that we actually have it. Okay? I know. Blow it up, Derek. What's wrong? You guys can't read that? Steak and potatoes. Of course, it's sweet potatoes. I know you guys are looking at that one. That's the first thing that came to mind. Okay, I'm moving away. Okay, here's a shopping list. So there was a menu. Here's a shopping list. So it's going to tell you what to buy. You don't have to buy exactly what's on here, but you can take, we have 6 different shopping lists for each week, and you can take parts from each shopping list and create your own. You don't have to completely follow exactly what this says. Okay, you can create your own little bit. All right, portion control. So before I get into portion control, and this is only going to take me about 5 minutes to go over the portion control part, and then we'll be done, and then we're going to have a couple little things at the end here. There's just a couple things that you have to know. Okay, we've heard about the fist thing, right? We've heard about the palm of the hand. Maybe some of you have. the thumb for the fat I just mentioned earlier. Whatever it is, and you also see up here for men, 5 ounces of protein is good per serving. For females, 3 ounces per serving. But the way it works more realistically for your personal lifestyle, because that's really generic, is you're going to have a meal or a snack. And if you are not hungry within 2.5 to 3 hours later, what does that mean? There you go. And is that going to vary from April to Jill? It will. It'll vary from person to person. So we have to remember this. So if you ate a meal or a snack and you're starving 1 minute or 1 hour later, what does that mean? It's too small. And it's going to change almost weekly. You'll have a portion, you'll have something 1 week, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so full, I don't know if I can do it. And yeah, you'll back it down. But by the next week, it's like you're eating those same portions, and you're hungry an hour and a half later. What does this mean? Okay, did everybody hear April? Your metabolism sped up. It is now burning at a hotter rate. It's like that fire is now, that furnace is being kindled, and it's burning hotter. We can throw a little more on there to make it burn hotter. This doesn't give us liberty to eat whatever we want because our metabolism is burning hotter. We still follow the rules of thumb. We're eating the good carbs with the proteins and so on. We're just now able to understand how our body can handle certain foods a little bit better. Yes?
Will your metabolism speed up whether you're active or not active and you're eating consistently every 3 hours?
Okay, the question is, will your metabolism speed up whether you're active or not if you're eating every 3 hours? Is that right? It will. But it's going to speed up more if what? If you are working out and you're active. It's fueling the body. You're working the machine. You activate muscle tissue every time you worked out. So all of us tonight, we probably burnt about 50 calories outside tonight. And so that increased the thermostat of our body by about 50 calories of expenditure. So we need to replenish that. If we don't, then over time, we can deplete the lean tissue. But of course, what we're talking about in combination with exercise is the best bet, not in replacement of, for sure. Good question. Okay, guys, let's jump into a couple slides here. And we can thank my brother for doing this, because last minute I go, Derek, I have an idea. And so he finished these last couple slides at, 12:30 last night? He's like, Rich, stop throwing this on me last minute. Okay, prep the plate. So you're going to throw a hand on the plate. And we have our protein. The protein should be about the size of your palm. This is the best measuring tool we all have right here. It really, really is. We don't need to get fancy measuring cups and scales to weigh. Just use this right here. Okay, so it's about the thickness of your palm. Okay? It looks really big up there because the hand is made big, okay? But when you look at the palm of your hand, we're not adding the fingers in there. We cut it off down here. We're not adding the thumb in there. It's about 5 ounces for most men and about 3 to 4 ounces for most women, okay? So there it is. Your carbohydrate, boom, there it is. About the same size as the protein, right? It's a little bit thicker because the fist is thicker than the palm of the hand. But there's your carb portion. And then your fat. Now, how many of you guys sprinkle more cheese on your salad than that? Yeah. Or put a little more ranch on than that, right? And then guess what? Go to town with your veggies. That is almost exactly what a plate should look like. It's going to vary. It's going to depend on, too, if you're doing a high carb or low carb day. So we're going to talk about that. This is a little review here. Regular carb day. We have a protein, right? Boom. What else do we have? A carb, right? It's part of the plan. Okay. What else do we have? Yeah. Okay, for breakfast only. There you go. Add the veggies in there. So that's what a plate looks like on regular carb day. Cool? Okay, here's low carb day. What do we have? Protein, right? There it is. And what do we have? Oh. Derek, we got to put a sound in this where it's like, next round, okay? Okay, and then do we have? Okay, so it's protein, fat, and a bunch of veggies. Okay, so we'll compensate on low carb day with more veggies on our plate. That's how we'll feel full. All right, guys, there we go. Those are the portions. Now, I started this company about 8 years ago. Was it that long ago? And I called it Sling. And Sling stands for Super Load Intake of Nutritional Goods. And so what I would do is I was about 20, what was 8 years ago? I was 24 years old. Can you believe this? 24 years old. And these ladies, mostly ladies, would pay me to go in their house and to coach them on their nutrition. I would go in week by week for 5 weeks consecutively, and we would have a different topic of conversation. We'd go through the pantry, and we'd cook together, and we'd get all these things. So it was like hands-on, kind of like today we went outside and did something, right? Rather than just sitting here and doing this like I've been doing for the last hour plus. And I found something out really, really quick, that if I didn't leave them with a specific assignment before I left, the next week when I came back, what would happen? Okay, they would fail. So I needed like 4 people to help me hand some papers out. So I started coming up, and I'm using like literally the exact same thing that I used 8 years ago in my Sling program. So Jen, you're going to help me? Right, cool.
I'll give more out to someone else to do.
Thank you. And then Amanda, thank you. Okay, so here is my assignment for you guys tonight. Now remember that this isn't your promise, okay? This is just an assignment, and if you do it, great. This is like a challenge for you, okay? But it's not going to break your integrity if you don't do one of these assignments that I have for you. Can I have one of those papers so I can see it? There we go. Thanks. Okay, this is going to go in your binder, your B section in your binder. It is. We hole punched it. So week 1 will start tomorrow. We'll give you guys tonight. Okay, I'll give you a mulligan today. And then tomorrow we're going to start fresh. If you drink 1 gallon, I want you guys to shade the box in. Don't check it off. You're going to shade it in nicely with your favorite color. Why? Why not just check it off? That's boring, right? And when you're shading it in, it takes like 3 or 4 times as long, and especially if you make it pretty with your favorite color, there's an emotional link to that achievement. Though it's small, it is a reward for yourself. Okay, I know it sounds silly, but just go with me on this. Pick your favorite color, and if you want to do multiple different colors to make it look pretty, go for it. If you're a guy, own it and do it. It's all right. Okay, don't worry about it. Just make it look awesome. I love coloring. Like my daughter has Elmo books, and in church I will literally color Elmo for an hour. It's awesome. Don't ask me what the speaker was talking about. Okay, you're going to shade it in if you did it. If you did not do it, then just don't touch it. It's all right. You don't need to put a frowny face in it. Leave it alone. It's okay. Okay? You got that? Okay, now, you see all the assignments. I'm not going to go over them one by one. They're pretty darn self-explanatory. But there are 2 spots I left blank for you. Number 5. I promised to what? What was the promise you made earlier?
5 minutes of exercise.
Okay, 5 minutes of exercise. If that's one of your promises, 5 minutes or more, I always suggest you say 5 minutes or more. If you get 5 minutes, great, you win. If you do 5 minutes and 1, bonus. 4:59, you don't fill it in. I promise to do 5 minutes or more of exercise, and the days you did it, you shade it in. And if you want, you can even write over your color how many minutes you did. So you can remind yourself, I did 10 minutes that day, 20 minutes, whatever it was. And then there's one more place to add another promise. So we're walking away here with a couple promises. One is the 5 minutes or more of exercise, or whatever it is for you. I don't want to put it into you. I already gave you 6 others. They're not, again, not promises, but just homework assignments. And let's just call these homework assignments extra credit, okay? And number 8, I promise to what? That's another assignment I want you to give yourself. And don't leave it blank. Remember this, the promise, it's so silly, it's what? Stupid. It almost seems like it's just not enough. That's not what this is about right now. It's about fulfilling your commitment and maintaining that integrity. So will you guys bring this back with you in your binders next class? Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for listening and letting me rant on and on and on. I know that I get a little fiery up here, and if I offended any of you, suck it up.